The way you talk over drums, you're about to get some. Okay, so the whole track started with a loop, which I obviously used the think beat I used so many times before. If you remember from my previous videos, it's this one. But I had to chop it into smaller pieces, so it doesn't look that obvious that I used it again. But obviously it wasn't enough, so I added another layer, the think beat sliced into smaller pieces, and then I just triggered various parts of the loop. And then I sampled it. I oversampled it with like regular samples with a kick and snare. And there's also a hi-hat from some old house loop I had. Also, I used a lot of like distortion and compression, so it kind of glues it all together. And together it sounds pretty cool. Okay, then there's this loop I have from some sample pack from Red Bull, which was free some years ago. And the original sounds kind of different. Let me find it actually. There we go. Some browser. So it's this one. And it really reminded me the loop from Massive Attack's Unfinished Symphony. I really love that track. But yeah, I mean, it didn't really work. So I had to kind of adjust it to this beat. So this is what I did. Obviously, I filtered out all the bass and all the highs, so it's a pretty narrow band I left in there. Then I used DS10 XLN like drum shaper, which is actually like a transient shaper. Like you can make all the hits sound more pronounced. So I used that, and then I used also Autopan, which is basically like a tremolo, which works in sync with the tempo of the track. And yeah, that helps a lot. Like, look at this. And then there's this bells. I really worked hard to make it sound like similar to this Unfinished Sympathy vibe. But sometimes I'm too lazy to like look for a loop, so I'm trying to figure out how to do it myself. And this is what I did. It still sounded very like digital to me, like very not as if a real person would play it. So I used some automation on it, and I tried to detune those. Like you can hear that it's coming down at the end of the loop. But then I also used the magical RC20, which actually makes this all automatically. Like it detunes and adds some distortion, and it kind of makes it feel like it's more real. I mean, it's not completely real, but when you mix it with the whole loop, it kind of starts to feel like it's played by a real person. Yeah, I love it. So yeah, together it sounds like this.
Does it ring any bells?
I always use some like ambient loop in the background, but it's like really subtle. It's like you wouldn't even notice it. It also helps to glue everything together.
Then there's bass.
And it's actually super simple. I used just Ableton built-in analog, but it sounded kind of like not pronounced much. Let me play it to you. I mean, yeah, it's just basically like a sine wave, which just drops with every note, like down. So I tried to emulate this 808 kind of thingy, but I didn't want to use the 808 sample. I wanted to do it myself. So yeah, I just used the pedal as I was using so many times before because of this really cool sub button, which doesn't affect the low frequencies, which is really cool for basses. And yeah, it sounded like this after that, which definitely made it more like present when everything is playing.
We talk over drums,
But still, I felt like it's not enough there. So I used the Serum like effect chain. Serum is actually like a synth plugin, but it also has this FX chain which you can use as a audio effect without like using the oscillators. This is the multi-band compressor I used for that, and actually it helped to cut through the mix much more. So yeah, this is without it, and this is with it. I could have actually used the sine wave from here, but why didn't I do it? Like, the creative process is just so mysterious. This is super dark. This is actually really simple. It's actually just a noise. So yeah, and this filter is really cool, and I've been using only like low pass and high pass and like all these filters just to like mix the stuff in, but there's so many cool filters you can use as a sound design tool. And then there's this strings layer, which actually, yeah, I stole from another track from 90s. Strike a pose. So yeah, I actually used it in one track of mine years back. I think they made it a similar way back then, because I don't think that it was like actual strings, but it's just like detuned saw wave, to be honest. I sent this LFO to like the pitch, so it kind of like wobbles the pitch a bit. And then there's this sound, which I love, and it's like basically only a long reverb, like 100% wet. Wow. And this is how I came with this one single chord that I use in this track. Actually, there were more chords in the beginning, but I try to simplify it. So maybe do I have it here somewhere? Yeah. I loved it, but then we didn't use it because it was like super cool that it's so simple. So yeah, basically it's like a marimba. It's crazy. Like, listen to this. It's like a super cheap marimba sound, and then you add like a ton of reverb, like 100% wet, and a really long tail, like 6 seconds. And it sounds amazing. I love it. And yeah, I added another layer of that. Same thing. This was also... And this is even like a synth. It's completely different with the reverb. And together... Super cool. Love it. Okay, and how about this sound? Dude, I love it so much. It sounds so random. Sometimes I'm so tired of like going through all the samples, all the effects I want to use, that it is actually more fun to create something on your own. If anything doesn't fit to my taste and I spend more like 2 minutes of trying to find the perfect sound, I'm just gonna make it. So sometimes you're like... So this is what I did. I used an operator and set it to 2 oscillators modulating each other. And then I just actually moved their pitch, and it just creates this really crazy random sound. And then I use like this frequency shifter, like also another wobble, so makes it even more like random. This is like a short version, but I had like a long one, which was super random, and really cool sounds came out of it. And actually, this is one of the sounds that came after it, and it's, yeah, I think it's really important for this track. And I just looped it because it was like, I really loved it. Amazing. So yeah, for the vocals, I also tried to layer it with more layers. I try to layer it with more layers. There's also like whispers of the lyrics on each side. Like, let me play it to you. Daily rations, 1,000 sessions. Spooky. Yeah, but together it just... Daily rations, 1,000 sessions. We mixed your favorite blend and be in fashion. You see, and most of it just kind of disappears when you mix it all together. But when I turn everything off, you'll see that it's kind of missing something. Like, look at that.
Daily rations, 1,000 sessions. We mixed your favorite blend and be in fashion.
Turn it
Take
on.
some action. We'll need a catalyst. Read few captions. Boom, you're an activist.
So I think it's just like small details that makes it more interesting. That's also what I did with KeKe's voice. I used the same plugin for like one octave down.
Bomb crashes. Papa was the saddest.
I'll turn it off.
Magic. Girl looks like on pageants. Walking ashes. Opa was a fascist. Buddha was a sexist.
And I wanted to show you this last thing. I get depressed a lot because sometimes when I'm mixing, I actually don't know how the vocal should be loud in comparison with music. And it's really hard to tell. But comparing it with different tracks with similar vibe. So in every project of mine, I have this group of like 5 different tracks. And I can solo every track on my keyboard. So when I'm like listening to a track,
Come while we empty.
Quick, don't fuck with any of them.
Where that respect is your ass to be look you in your eyes.
sometimes it really helps you think straight because it's just impossible to know like what sounds good if you can't compare it to anything else. So yeah, thank you guys for watching. If you like it, subscribe to my YouTube channel and please like the track on YouTube. It always helps. People ask me, how can we help you? I don't want to go to like the depth of it, but it really helps if you comment it and if you like it and if you subscribe to my stuff and you put my stuff into playlists. It helps a ton. So thank you for supporting me this way, and yeah, I'll see you with another track.